After a few friends, Rabbi Danny Newman, Rabbi Mordechai Chalk of Watfordshire, and on his retirement party for Rabbi Sachs, the then Prince Charles, our king, said something along the lines of, "Today is the end of your career, but I haven't even started mine." Now he has begun his. And yesterday we read that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses is 80, Aaron is 83. And one of the questions I've got really is in the Pirkei Avot, when it says in Ethics of the Father, Ben Shmonim L'Gvura, 80 is strength. And this 80 and 83, today for me is surreal. These are the last few moments of my sitting shiva. My father, Barry Fried, Binyamin Ben Meir, will be getting up this morning. My father passed away at 80, and his father, Meir Ben Shimon, passed away at 83. So Moshe born and died on the same day. My father's Yot Shiva ends today, which is also his 80th birthday. A couple of weeks ago we celebrated on his English birthday, Parsha Vayechi, and he lived, and this week is Bo. And he returned to his people. One of the ways I've been getting through is certainly this aspect of faith and emunah and bitachon and trust. And today is also the day that the Chovot Halavavot, the duties of the heart, was published. And the fourth chapter, Shar Bitachon, the gates of trust, is really one way that we can navigate through the challenges. And of course, as we know, Kaddish is not a woe is me. Kaddish is how great is Hashem and the oneness, the unity. The Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, taught that in his death, in his passing, a tzaddik, the righteous ones, are more accessible than during their life, because during their life, their neshama, first part of their soul, is bound within their body, but once they pass, their ruach, the central part of their soul, is accessible whenever you learn anything of theirs, and you connect to the tzaddik. One thing which really struck me was just we had a long anina, these 4 days before the funeral, and then when it began, I found my father's presence was stronger everywhere than during his life. And I had I don't know what the word is, so I held him as he passed away. He held me when I came into the world, and I held him as he left it. And during those days afterwards, but what confused me was, he wasn't a Torah scholar, and yet the Alter Rebbe says this about feeling the presence of the Torah scholars. I mentioned this to a friend of mine, Hertfordshire in Israel, and when I said he wasn't a Torah scholar, my friend said, "Well, how do you know?" And one thing our Ishbitzer teachers, which I will be sharing about the Ishbitzer next week, who he was, is we don't know. We do not know what's going on. We don't know someone's Gilgulim, what they reincarnated as. And there was then something which just hit me on Friday morning, which was this, when I was learning with someone. A few months ago, my father said to me, "Marcus, how long does it take to read 2,000 words?" I said, "Dad, I've got no idea. I've got a voiceover rate chart I use for clients. I'll work out the minutes and I'll tell you tomorrow. I won't charge you." Next day, my dad says it takes 20 minutes, roughly. When the time comes, I've written some words. I would like you to read them out. So he'd written his own eulogy. Not so conventional. I said, "Dad, look, 20 minutes is long. This is not like an LA funeral where people just talk and free associate for hours. It's England." But no, he's like, "Don't worry, people won't be going anywhere. They've got nothing better to do." And then during his eulogy, I introduced it. I said, "This is a first for Bushy Jewish Cemetery that you're now going to hear from the departed." And he sort of talked about his friends, and people are crying one by one. And then he'd say things like, "You can answer back, say what you want. I can't respond today." And then his last few words were, he said, "Let's talk about Kaddish. Kaddish should be said slowly and with meaning, not rushed through. And if the whole service lasts one extra minute, so be it. And then finally, no need to clap. I can't stand up and take a bow." So he ended with showbiz. But just before that, he'd been talking about Kaddish, which is the proclamation of unity. It says in the Gemara that if you say Yehei Shmei Rabbah with Kavanato and Ram Gevura with utter intention and full strength, then it erases 70 years of sins. We don't know who's a Torah scholar, but I know that my father, in his last words, was setting people up to proclaim the oneness of Hashem. So what does it mean that someone's how can you be 80, turning 80 today, and it's the last day of your shiva and going into strength? Well, strength in the next world, coming unto his people. With Moshe is Mashiach, is drawing out potential. The Ishbitzer says it's the gematria of 365 or 366 every day of the year. So we should use this as a chus for extra strength, extra potential from now to the future, and l'chaim for Binyamin Ben Meir, my father Barry. Yes.